Hey, what's up there? Kirk of Effectatron here for part 2 of this abstract cloth tutorial. In the last one, I showed you how to create this bubbly mass and abstract art piece. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to texture it, because I think that's really where this one shines. It's because you can really get a whole lot of different looks just by changing the materials. So we're going to go over the lighting real quick, but we're going to mainly focus on the materials. We're going to make sort of this transmission looking one that you think is SSS, but it's actually not. And then we're going to make a fabric looking one as well. And we're going to make all these from scratch inside of Cinema 4D with just assets that we have available for us in the content browser. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is thank my patrons. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot for all the support you guys are. If you want to support the channel, this is a really great way to do it. All those people, all of you that have liked and subscribed and, you know, stuck around on the channel and commented and joined the Discord. I mean, we have like over 150 people in there now. You guys are fantastic. It's been great getting to know all of you. And it's just been a really nice, positive community to be a part of, and just a cool, safe place for artists to just, you know, talk. Let's go ahead and get started. Start off, turn off our hair, and just go with our basic shape here. So first, let's create a cloth. So go to Create, Redshift Material, Standard Material. Throw that on our object here. And what we're going to do is open up the content browser and double click our object here, our material. So now we can come in here and we're going to type in fabric. And we're not going to use any of these that are made or even the fabric ones for Redshift, which are available. But we're going to looking down here at the bump maps and stuff like that. So we're going to zoom this up and scroll down here, and you can see we have some like fabric patterns that are pretty cool. So let's go ahead and just download these and grab like fabric 2. Pull that in, and I'll show you how to connect this so that you can use this with your own thing. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to open up the IPR, hit play on this, and we're going to solo this so we can see how that fabric is being applied. And so you can see that this doesn't quite look like the JPEG image that we were looking at. So what do we need to do? We need to rescale this. And because our shape is not like UV unwrapped or anything like that, it's just kind of stretching all over the place. So what we need to do is actually use a triplanar node. So we're going to hit C, type in triplanar, and bring that in. And we're just going to connect that to the triplanar input image X. And inside of this, you'll notice we have the option to have the image XYZ all on the same axis. And this is what we want. Okay, so now we're going to solo that. And just by soloing that, you're going to see that we really lose that all together, and it's not working very well. And well, there's kind of this weird connection between the scale of this and the scale of the triplanar, and the scale of the triplanar is a pain because by default it's 0.01, as if you want to work with very small decimals to adjust your scale for whatever reason. So the first thing we need to do is just make this easier to see, because right now we've got like black and a little bit of gray, and we're really not seeing our pattern. So we need to create a ramp to adjust and clamp that down so we can see more of how this is being applied. So hit C, type in ramp, and the best part about the node editor, grab that ramp, put it right here on this line, and it's going to connect it for us automatically. I can't believe that wasn't already in there. Okay, so now we can just take this white and we're just going to pull that down. We're grabbing this white notch, and we're hopefully just going to see a lot more of this texture. So now we can see, oh, our fabric is actually being applied on our object, kind of how we were hoping. Go back to the original, actually go back to the original just by clicking the ramp. And you're going to see this is originally how our texture is being applied. And it's okay, you know, we could come in here and maybe just scale it like 5 and 5. And that's a pretty good result. And you can see like sometimes it's thinner and tighter here and looser here, which might work because we are looking for like the bubble expanding. But when you use the triplanar, we get more of just that even scaling across the whole thing. So we can go back to 1 and 1 on this. I'm going to get that even scaling all the way across, and we can easily rotate this. If we wanted to say like 90 degrees, we could come down here and turn that. And so now we can have our lines going sideways. So it's just kind of easier to control the overall shape of it. So if you want your things to be stretched out and stuff, definitely don't use triplanar, because the original way is going to allow that to be stretched out and stuff. But we don't want that. We want it to be pretty even across the whole thing. So what we want to do is we're going to take this ramp and we're going to bring our black up just a little bit, and we're going to bring our white down even more. We want a very distinct line, because the way this is going to work, everywhere that's black, we're going to tell it to sink in, and everywhere that's white, we're going to tell it to pop out. So the way we're going to do that is actually using displacement, not just bump. But we might be able to get away with it with just bump. So first thing we're going to do is just try a bump map and see if that gets us the results we want. Always try a bump before displacement a lot of times, because it's, one, way faster, and two, a lot of times it can actually get you the results you need. So we'll uncheck the solo of the triplanar. We'll have the bump map here, and we'll go to the new range down here in the bump map, and we're going to say -0.5, and for the max range, we're going to say 0.5. And what that's going to do is that's going to take that black, pull it in halfway, take that white, push it out halfway. And so we still have that same ratio, is what I'm trying to say, between, you know, black and white of just 1. So you're not getting like too extreme or anything like that. And you can see we have this nice kind of fabric pattern on here, and really it looks like we just need to adjust our Fresnel and stuff like that, and our reflection. So pretty cool already that this is going to probably work rather than the displacement. And if we don't think it's quite enough, we can up the height scale of this. Try 2. The max I would ever go with a bump map is 3. If you need to go, if your look needs to, if 3 of a height scale is not getting you the elevation look that you need to use displacement, because after 3, it starts just getting kind of weird. And so 2, I think, is going to be good. This looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and work on our reflections. So we didn't have to use displacement on this, which is fantastic. So go back to your RS standard material. And we're going to bring this up so we can see what we're doing here. And obviously we can change the color of this, the base color. Let's go ahead and go with just sort of a light, nice lime kind of green. Very nice. Let's go with a darker color just so we can kind of see our bump map a little bit more. There we go. And obviously it's still kind of too reflective. And so this is kind of where, you know, you can just take your IOR and you can lower it down to like 1.2, which is going to help a little bit. And you can up your roughness to like 0.3. And you kind of have this look, but you're still not really getting that fabric look. It looks kind of like a weird rubber at this point. And that's normal because fabric kind of has different properties that rubber and stuff doesn't. And the way that that's going to be triggered is we're going to use 2 things. We're going to use sheen and we're going to use Fresnel. So we're going to go down here to sheen, control that down, crank that all the way up to 1. And you can see that adds this sheen, like this, almost like a coating, but it's not a coating across our object. And right now, evenly across everything, it doesn't look that good, okay? But what we can do is type in Fresnel. And what this is going to do, if you watch my Toon Shader app video, this kind of creates control over the fall off values of this round bit. So we'll solo this so we can see what this is doing. And you can see already we've got white around our sides and black in the middle, which is what we want. But we don't want to use index of refraction, which is on by default. We want to use the curve fall off. So we're going to uncheck index of refraction. And this way we can just lower this curve fall off and expand that out with a lower value, crank it up, it's going to be tighter. Okay, so we're going to say about 2.5. So we're going to get some nice white around the edges. So our perpendicular color is going to be the color that is, you know, perpendicular to the camera. Facing color is going to be the color facing the camera. So that's how you can tell what's going on here. So black and white is good because that's what we're going to use for reflection roughness. We're going to take this Fresnel and plug it into the standard material, go down to sheen, and then roughness. And so the way this is going to work, it's going to put the sheen on our object only, but have it rougher on the edges. So you can see how it kind of creates that nice roughness sort of across it. And again, we're going to take this and plug it into here, and we're going to go to sheen, and we're also going to say weight. So now we're not going to get that sheen where it's black. We're only going to get that sheen on those nice curved fall off points, which is kind of where we want that to be for that Fresnel. And if we want to, we can even plug this into just the overall reflection roughness as well. But I don't like that because we actually want it to kind of be the opposite, but we're not going to worry about that. So with our reflection roughness, we're going to turn this up to 0.5. So the overall roughness is 0.5. And then our sheen is really going to be the one that's driving kind of that soft fabric-y look. And so we're left with this really nice fabric. So we could come in here and we could lower this down to say 1 and get more of that coming across if we want it to be more of a softer material. And or we could come in here and make it, you know, a higher value, and we're only going to get that on the edge. So let's go ahead and say 2, I think for this was a good one. And then for the reflection roughness, I think it's fine. I think our bump is too intense at 2. So we're going to lower it down to 1 just to kind of let that be. And so we're going to get more of that soft Fresnel coming in across everything. And just for the sake of this texture, I kind of liked the way it looked when it wasn't in the triplanar. So we're actually going to go back down here and plug this into the bump map and ignore or skip over our triplanar and just go ahead and crank this back up to 5. And maybe have to go all the way up to 8. Yeah, so what you may notice if we're looking at this, you see that sometimes we get sort of this smoothing where we're losing our detail. Like we've got this detail here and it should be across our whole object. And what that is that's optics blurring it out. Okay, so mainly what we need to do, come in here, we can save first of all, go to the Redshift render settings, and underneath Redshift, I have optics denoising on. So what can we do? Well, we can take off denoiser because we really don't need it. And 2, we can change our denoiser if we want to go back to low and change our denoiser to Altus Dual and hit render on that. And it might take longer. We're going to see whether medium without denoising versus denoising with optics dual on low is going to be faster. So we'll take a look at this. And so just so you can troubleshoot how to set this up for your scene. This looks pretty good, like not very noisy, but there's definitely some noise in here on low, and this is really noisy. So that's where we kind of want that denoiser to clean that up for us. We could just come in and increase the samples. But you can see here, 41 seconds, the Altus Dual does a way better job. We've cleaned up all the noise over here, and it does a way better job of keeping all this detail in here. So optics is faster, but it really doesn't know the difference between a nice tight texture and noise. So, you know, pay attention to that. Optics Dual may be a way to go. So now we have this really nice, cool, soft fabric because of that sheen and that Fresnel. And if we want to, we could come in here and add some hair on this really quick and just kind of make it even more fabric-y looking. So let's just go ahead and do that. And then lastly, I'll show you how to do a transmission thing that's pretty quick and just a cool looking one as well. So we'll save this, all these fabrics, all these textures, and they all provide cool things. Like this is a cool one. Knit, you got like mesh, you know, it's all kinds of cool things. So take a look at that as well. You know, you have different options, different things can be different things, and the workflow is the same. Black and white values, it's all going to be the same kind of thing. So let's go ahead and with our sphere selected, go to simulate hair objects, add hair. And boom, our hair is crazy. So let's just go ahead and take our length down to 10, maybe 15. Yeah. We want to take our count and lower it down to about 3,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. So we'll say reroute and regrow, just so we have those sort of distributed throughout our scene a little easier. Now for the hairs, we're going to come in here and we'll see how 50,000 looks. It may not be enough, but we'll take a look at how that turns out. And then what we need to do is go in here to create Redshift material, standard material, double click to open this up, delete the standard material out of it, hit C, type in hair, and add principled hair. This is the secret sauce to some cool Redshift stuff. So take this, plug it into Surface, and we're not going to worry about doing variations and stuff like that. It has all these really cool options to make it very realistic based on the melanin and all that stuff, but you don't need all that. All we need to do is worry about the diffuse contribution, which we're going to turn all the way up to 1, and we're going to leave it at sort of this sort of whitish, light bluish gray kind of hair like that. And that's all we need. So that's all we're going to set for that. Throw that on the hair and we're good to go. So now we can come in here and double click our hair tag here. And we just want to go to the basics here and we want to turn on frizz and turn on kink. And that should be about it. We'll go and then maybe length and we'll double click, see how it adds these tags up here. So we'll go to thickness. We'll change the root of this down to like 0.25, so it's not quite as thick. Go to the length, up the variation to 50, and the length to 50. Okay, so now we have some that are longer than others. Frizz amount, 50. Kink amount, 30 and 10. It's fine. These are just kind of arbitrary values that are just there to add some randomness to this. So now let's go ahead and just hit render on this. And we'll take a look at just how different that looks with just some hairs sticking out of it. So this obviously might be a little too hairy, and they might be a little long. They kind of look kind of gross. I don't like it. So what we need to do, go to our hair, super easy. Delete a 0 out of this and go to the guides, and let's go down to 1000 and also split the length probably in half, like 8. Regrow it, reroute it, regrow it, and go ahead and hit render again. Super easy to make those quick adjustments. There we go. So now you can really see it on the edges and stuff, and we might need to bump it back up, but they're there. But let's go ahead and, I feel like we took away too many. It's good, but we're gonna go back to 3000 for the count of roots and reroute it, regrow it. Dynamics are on by default, so it's actually gonna they're gonna float down. So what we need to do, if you hit play, you forgot that that's that thing, you need to go to the dynamics tag, properties, and for our rest hold, we're gonna say like 80% because we don't want them to fall over. I know I'm flying through this stuff, but this isn't a hair tutorial. I do have a fur tutorial. I love fur and stuff. It's so fast in Redshift. So we'll squish this. All our hair and stuff is gonna get squished out as well. And we're gonna pause right there and hit render on this. And you're gonna see we get these really nice little hairs sticking out and stuff. And I think we need more still. Hairs. Instead of 5,000, let's do 20,000. I know that seems like a crazy amount more, but it's, you know, very different when you're actually looking at it. But you can tell already that this is just adding, some just like nice detail to these. So let's cover render settings real quick. If I wanted to render this out for real, I think what I would do is I would probably say medium. I would definitely have denoising on, set to Alt dual, and I would just have auto samples, automatically samples set to go. And then for the GI, I use brute force. I have hardware ray tracing on, and really that's all you need to do. Then you hit render, and you get this scene right here, and it will render it out, and you'll be like, oh, that's really noisy, because then it goes back over it and does Alt dual afterwards. And because it's Alt dual, it's going to do it twice. So it takes longer, but it does do a better job cleaning it up. So now it's rendered it, and so now it's going to go back over and do the Alt dual. 3 seconds, and we have a really nice, clean, very detailed little fuzzy fabric mesh here. Very, very cool. Nice. And it looks like fabric with the sheen and everything. For now, it's looking good. So all we do for the lights here is we just have, our normal studio psych set up. We've got a big old overhead light, which is going to be the one that's it's very low, but it's huge. And it's just kind of creating this nice soft shadow across the whole ground and everything. Soft light, but it is behind our object. And we have one light in front of our object. These are all just area lights that have a target to a null that's just right here in the middle. So they're easier to walk around. Set to 10. And then a backlight. Very simple, basic, not even a 3-point studio setup. It's really just 2 because we also have a dome light, or no, we don't have a dome light. So yeah, so that's really it. It's a front light, a back light, and a big overhead light. And that's all we needed to get this really nice, cool look. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about creating that transmissive material really quick, since we covered sort of fabric and hair all in one. Let's do the transmissive material because I think it looks really cool on this object. So we'll go to Create Redshift Material Standard, throw that on our sphere, turn off our hair, and let's go ahead and open this up. Hit render on this, scale it down, and open this up. Okay, create this transmissive material. Obviously, we need to use the transmissive properties. So let's focus on those solely. Take base property completely down. Reflection is going to be important. We're going to leave it at exactly what it is right now for starting. And transmission, we're going to turn all the way up to 1. So by default, that's going to make it completely clear. And we don't want it to be clear. We want it to be colored. And so what we'll do is we change the color of the transmission. And by clicking this, and we're going to say sort of maybe like a dark purple. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, nice. But it just looks kind of like a weird purple glass or something. Kind of neat, but it doesn't quite have any depth to it. So what we want to do is we want to use this depth control here and also this scatter color. So firstly, we want to change the scatter color, and we're going to do like this really light blue, like a cyan kind of color. And obviously it's going to do nothing because we have no depth. But as we increase the depth up to 1, you're going to notice that it becomes a lot more blue than it is purple, and it's also a lot less see-through. So the further the depth, the further it allows light into your scene, and the further it's going to multiply that scatter color in there. So higher value, you're going to see more light coming into there, and we're going to see less of this, or more of this cyan blue. So we're going to say the depth of like 40, and now you're going to start seeing that mix between the two a little bit more. I'm going to say 80. And now you're starting to see that we're getting kind of this sort of clearish, gummy texture kind of coming through without any SSS or anything like that. So you can just keep cranking this up, and everything is very based on scale and also the colors and stuff like that. So you'll notice that we're not getting a lot of this blue coming through, and we're getting still kind of dominated by this purple. So come in, you might just want to kind of make this color a little lighter. And now we're going to see if we come in here in between them and just make it just a little bit lighter and less saturated. We're going to get that cyan coming through, and we can bring this up, and we might need to make this a little darker or make this a little lighter as well. And you're going to see just how that affects the way that's coming in, and that color is multiplying that. So lighter, we're just getting more of a white kind of purple coming through. More blue, we're getting that cyan coming through there. And then we can make it darker blue, and we're getting more of that purple because it's not quite as cyan. So let's go ahead and use that. And we could try to increase this depth a little bit more to like 200. And that gets us kind of this interesting color. But I kind of like that gummy look at 120. And what we can do is just lower this down even more, just ever so slightly. Because I want some of that blue coming in there, but I also want that purple as well. So now we kind of have this cool thing where it's bubbling out more, it's more purple, and where it's sort of less bubbly, it's more blue. And one thing we could do is come in here and just add another light to our scene, because obviously our light is going to help a lot with transmission values. So we'll grab this front light, hold control, and bring it over. And we're just going to kind of go down, and we put it beneath the fluorine accent, so we're going to pull it up. And we're going to make it just a little bit bigger. Now that's really going to light up this side and give us more of a dynamic look here. So now we kind of have that very clearly. It is a little, clearer here, but it still has some purple and stuff in here. So really cool colors and things. And if you want more of these colors, I have a material pack that you can download for free. That's got a lot of these. That's what we'll do before we look at my colors is we'll grab an imperfection map, like one with smudges, like so. Double click on material, grab that, pull that in, and just plug that into the roughness. And now we're going to get a little more of that roughness value. That's a little too shiny. And we could add a ramp node and correct this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the custom gamma of our texture and lower it down to 0.3. And now we have this nice, soft, smudgy, bubbly look. Very cool. I think we could throw a purple material on there, and it looks pretty good. Yep. So there you go. So this one was kind of a weird one that is disjointed, but I think between those two things, hopefully you got some tips and tricks out of there. Pretty cool way to create some really nice looking materials and things very quickly with assets inside of there, inside of the content browser that you already have. So, very completely different looks, but both equally really cool. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you to all my patrons, as well as all of you who support me on Gumroad. Be sure to check the links below for all of my content, and stay tuned for the next tutorial that's coming soon. All right, see you guys next time.